foul. That was absolutely ridiculous.
The Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
Up on down. Here comes a 1-2 pitch. Red Sox win the World Series.
I don't know. It's tough. Tom's up there, man. Being tough.
Ladies and gentlemen, the factory for Boston.
Well. Pretty much the same time as I was saying that the season is dead for the Boston Red Sox, I literally just reacted to Red Seat Radio explaining why this season might be over, is it over, or whatever, like questioning whether the Red Sox are dead or not. And here he is now. He's saying it's over. Oh my god, I feel bad for Sox fans. I really do. Here's my thing. You know the Red Sox season is over when Red Seat Radio is saying that the Red Sox season is over, because he is one of the most, if not the most, optimistic Red Sox fan out there. You guys know that. I've been saying that for a while. Like, I tip my cap to his optimism, because, man, if I had that kind of optimism, whoo, my life would be perfect. But now he's over here saying that the Red Sox season is over. And I would agree with him. I said it after the Detroit Tigers series that the season was over for them, that they were officially dead. They were lingering a little bit for me, but like after against Detroit, that's when I was like, okay, it's officially dead for them. We are reacting to the season is over. No playoffs. Who's to blame? That's very simple of who's to blame. It is the ownership. The ownership did not deliver on their promise last season to go full throttle this season to get themselves into a playoff position and to put themselves the best chance to win a championship. How do you do that? You go out and spend money. You go out and spend money. You go out and get top-end talent, whether it's for the pitching, the bats, or whatever. I've been saying this since the last, 2 years, I will say, post-Xander Bogaerts era. The team is not sustainable to get themselves into a playoff position. It's not. They are mediocre. They're mid. And that's the worst place for your franchise to be right now. Yeah, you're going to have some flashes like, okay, this is how this team can win and everything else. But if you're stuck in the middle, you don't know a path that you're on. Are you competing? Are you rebuilding your farm system? Like, what are you doing here? If I was the Red Sox, they're not bad enough to be in a rebuilding mode. Mike said it on the podcast. He would have rather had the Red Sox sell this past trade deadline as opposed to what they did. But the problem I would have had with them selling at this year's trade deadline was that the Red Sox were overachieving so much where if they sold at the trade deadline, the message would have been sent saying that ownership and the GM is giving up on the season that early. So that's why I said at the trade deadline, it was like a C plus around there grade for their trade deadline trades. But it wasn't anything that was going to move the needle for them. And as a matter of fact, the trade that they made might have actually hurt their chances to get into the playoffs because Luis Garcia has been trash. Danny Jansen has been, okay. Not bad, not great, but, like, he's been okay. Who else did they even get at the trade deadline? Lucas Sims, he's not doing that great for the Red Sox right now either. James Paxton is hurt. No one understood why they went after James Paxton because last year, same deal, right? Last year, he was pitching good at the beginning of the year, but then he gets hurt. They have way too many inconsistent players. Whether it's their play or if they're on the field or not. There are way too many inconsistent players on this roster. What do they need to do, in my opinion? Well, first of all, you got to buy the trust back in these fans. Because the fans don't believe you right now. They don't believe in this path. So you got to buy the fans back and convince to them that you guys are in it to win it every single year. This is what, the third or fourth play? No, this is the third. Third playoffs in a row. This is the third season in a row that you're not making the playoffs. And you're the Boston Red Sox, who are a big market team who should be in on the top end talent of the league and should be luring in these top free agents. You should be able to beat out almost every single team in biddings for your Blake Snells, Corbin Burns, Shohei Ohtani's, and pay for guys like Mookie Betts and so on and so forth. And you haven't done that. Why? It's because the ownership does not care. All they cared about was exactly what happened this year. They were competitive up till September, and that's it. They don't care what happens now because they had a full ballpark from April to September. That's all they care about right now. And it's sad. The state of the Red Sox is absolutely sad, embarrassing, and disappointing to fans. That's why I'm wearing this cap. And that's why I'm Team Bogarts. Again, this doesn't make sense also. I'm Team Mookie Betts also. Bogarts has shown me so much love over the years here in Boston. It's Team Bogarts first. So therefore, I'm rooting for the Padres first. But Mookie, I have nothing but love and respect for Mookie also. I've had some great memories and great interactions with Mookie also. So I'll root for him also and his team. It's a weird situation for me right now. But we are going to react to this video here from Red Seat Radio. And before we get into it, because I've been speaking a ton of Japanese, I want to give Red Seat Radio a huge shout out for the love and support that he showed me last night on his stream. I was watching his watch party stream on his YouTube channel, and like, cool dude, man. Really cool dude. I hope he can see these videos here that I'm doing, reacting to his channel, whatever. So if you guys watching this video here are also subscribed to Red Seat Radio, which, by the way, go subscribe to Red Seat Radio. I'll leave his channel link and the original video link in the description down below. Maybe he'll get to watch one of these videos one of these days, who knows, but really cool dude. And keep up the hard work, man. All love and support over here. You know the vibes, and I'm just like you, man. I hope this team turns it around soon. I hope the ownership cares at some point in the future. I hope all of that. The reason why I'm wearing this hat, and I'm actually watching my Xander Bogaerts San Diego Padres jersey right now. The reason why I have this and the jersey right now is not because of the team. It's not because of the players, the coaches, whatever. You guys who are subscribed to my channel know this. It's the owner staff. I can't get behind what they're doing over there. So we're going to react to this video here. Leave a thumbs up if you guys enjoy these videos. Subscribe now if you guys know what to do. Go check out our website. The link is in the description down below. I cannot wait for October 27th. If you know, you know. Banner 18 gets hung to the rafters. My team is back. I even can't wait for the Bruins to be back also. I'll be watching San Diego Padres playoffs also. So, great times right now over here. But, without further ado, stop straight into this video.
Yeah, folks, it's time to head home. This season is a wrap.
Oh, damn. Negative to start the video, too? Wow, that's unlike him.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back
Fire
to Red Seat
intro,
Radio.
as
My name
always.
is Corbin. The Boston Red Sox just lost every single game in New York. They could not put together one singular win against the New York Mets. And for the first time since Game 70, the Boston Red Sox are back to 500, officially putting them...
So now, the day that I'm recording this, is a few days after the Mets series. And, yeah, my prediction, not looking too good.
You suck!
72-90 was my prediction at the beginning of the year. It's not looking too good. They're going to exceed it. I will give them that. Round of applause to them. They're going to exceed my expectations. But I don't know if they're going to be below 500 or not. I don't know. They might hit 80 wins, to be honest with you. They might be 80 and 82 this season. Which, that would be really exceeding my expectations if they hit 80 wins. I think I said it in my article at the beginning of the year. At most, 76, 77 wins, something like that. You guys can check the article on the website to see what my actual prediction was. Like, for best case scenario, if everything went right, I think it was 76, 77 wins, something like that. They might pass that, but the one that's most important is, are they going to make the playoffs or not? That prediction is going to be correct, unfortunately.
Themselves at 70-70 on the season. Good for a tie for 5.5 games back of the postseason. And I have to call it, guys. This season is over. The Boston Red Sox, I'm declaring, will not make the playoffs. So what we're going to do in today's video is we're going to take a look at where everything went wrong. We're going to talk about why the Red Sox have been so poor in the second half. And we're also going to talk about who's possibly to blame for this collapse.
That's
Thank
easy.
You all very much for clicking
That
on
is
this
very
one.
easy.
Let's get into it. I know. Most of the time on this channel, I am unbelievably optimistic. In fact, I'm annoyingly optimistic to some of you guys. And
You guys can go back to some of the reactions I've done on Red Seat Radio, and you guys can see me hysterically laughing at some of his predictions. Nah, all love Red Seat Radio, for real though. He's a fan. When you're a fan, and you're a diehard fan, which Red Seat Radio is, you expect the most out of your team. And I get that. I was once a diehard, but I felt betrayed by this ownership with how they treated Mookie Betts, and especially Xander Bogaerts. You guys know how I rock over here with Bogaerts and everything else. I've had some inside scoops as to what happened with the Bogaerts situation. That was the death point for me. I was like, okay, it's wraps. It's over for me. It's done. We're in this right now. And I don't know how long it's going to take for the Red Sox to get out of this rut. The only person that can decide to get themselves out of this rut is going to be John Henry and FSG. That's the only way they're going to get out of this. They need starting pitching. They need an ace. Maybe a number 2 if you really want to, like, boost your starting rotation staff. Again, from watching San Diego, I get the age might not be flattering for Blake Snell, but he is a solid pitcher that the Red Sox could use right now, where he would easily be like your number 1, maybe number 2 if you want Houck as your number 1 starter. Totally see that. But Burns and Houck as your 1-2 bunch, that's what you should be going for. Period. End of discussion. There's no other scenario that you should be going for. You should be going for the top talent of the free agency market. You should be in on every single top talent that's available for trade. Anything. The only person that can construct that decision making is John Henry, because he has to give Craig Breslow the okay to do those kinds of moves. It's up to John Henry to turn this franchise around. It's his team. It's as simple as that. I hope for Red Sox fans' sake that this turns around soon. When will it turn around, though, if you were to ask me? I don't know. Because I feel like owner staff has been the same for the last, realistically, 3 years. Even at the trade deadline in 2021, they didn't really get much. Kyle Schwarber just flourished in Boston. That was realistically like the only trade that has worked out for Boston so far in the last 4 seasons. And guess what? John Henry decided to not pay Kyle Schwarber also. It's up to John Henry, guys. The ball's on his court and the ball's on FSG's court.
for the most part, every single season, despite what happens on the field, I don't give up on a Red Sox team until they are mathematically eliminated.
Right.
This year has just been completely different. These last few weeks, this last couple of months have utterly defeated me to the point where I just simply cannot say that this team will have a spark, that this team may be able to come back, right? It feels like it's over, and it's not just me who thinks that. It's not just this fan base who thinks that. It's the players as well. You could see it on their faces after every single loss. You could hear it in the broadcasters' voices they're calling this game.
Media,
everyone around this Red Sox team, I think at this point, has accepted the fact that this team will not be able to push themselves anymore in 2024, and that this season is over. And it just sucks because watching these games has been absolutely miserable, and the fact that they keep losing in so many different ways. They have
Dumb
had
ways
the
also.
third worst record in baseball since the All-Star break, dating back to the last 44 games. And if you take a look at what's gone wrong for this team, it's been absolutely everything. We could start with the offense because in this series alone, they grounded into 6 double plays.
Damn.
That is an average of 2 double plays a game. Their OPS in this series was just 563. That is 151 points below league average. They are averaging 10.3 strikeouts per game and 7 hits per game. In this series, they had 10 more strikeouts than hits. No one but Jarren Duran is playing well at the plate right
True.
now. Well, actually, Nick Sogard really hasn't been all that bad for this Red Sox team. In fact, he's been pretty productive. He's a very professional player. But to be honest with you, Nick, you're a great player, but I just don't really care at this point, right? Because he's doing his job, but you know who's not doing his
The rest of the team.
Rafael Devers, who's playing with a singular shoulder right now. I think at this point, we have to have a conversation as to whether or not you shut him down for the year so you don't risk
That's just me,
injuring him
though.
for 2025.
True.
Tyler O'Neill stinks right now. Tristan Casas stinks right now. Wilyer Abreu stinks right now. Cedar Rafaela stinks right now. Rob Refsnyder stinks right now. I don't know why I keep listing off names because everyone else on this team outside of Jarren Duran is stinking it up right now offensively. Everyone decided to jump into a slump at the exact same time. To be honest with you, it's pretty impressive. It's impressive that the Boston Red Sox as a team went into a slump altogether. That's not a normal thing that happens. I have no idea how this Red Sox team has simply dug themselves into this hole offensively that they just simply can't seem to climb out of. And it's really impressive in terms of offensive collapses. Going into the All-Star break, you were not only in the third wild card spot, you also had a run differential of plus 41. That's 41 more runs scored than your pitching was allowing, and the pitching wasn't all that great for the first half of the season.
No.
To be honest with you, that meant that the offense was doing
Pivetta
really
was
well.
awful.
At this
Bayo
point in the
was
year, you were not only wildly
up
out
to
of a
par
wild
what
card
I
spot,
expected
you not
him to be.
only at a 500 record, you also have a negative 6 run differential. You are averaging 2.3 runs per game in your last 10 games. They simply cannot do anything offensively at the moment, and it's not helping that the rest of the team isn't doing that well either. Pitching-wise, I will say, starting pitching has been pretty solid recently. I don't think they've been a big reason why they're losing these games. I know Houck and Bayo didn't have the greatest starts in the world in this series, but at the same time, too, they kind of kept these games close. They kept it into a point where normally your Red Sox offense should be able to at least pull out one win in this series. But if you take a look at the bullpen, they may be the biggest reason why the Red Sox have collapsed to this point. Because, man, in this series, you had absolute and utter tomfoolery going on in the back end of this bullpen. You walked in 3 runs for the first time since 2010 in this organization. And
yeah, Kenley Jansen not great. Did he tap out after the trade deadline, maybe? I couldn't really tell you, to be honest with you. It just seems like, again, the narrative these last 3 years have been, well, damn, trade deadline, you don't get a big splash or, like, a move that moves the needle for us or whatever, the Red Sox, right? So are you really buying into this season? Do you really believe in us? It just seems like it's the same narrative for the last 3 seasons. Even the 2022 season, like, they were flirting with the wild card spot there also, and they decided to sell off Christian Vasquez. They decided to sell and buy at the same time, where fans, like even myself at the time, was saying, what are we doing? What are we doing? Why are we selling off one of the leaders of the clubhouse when we are in a hunt for a wild card spot? Why are we doing that? I get it. 1 year left on the contract. This, that, yada, yada. Yeah, I get all that. But if we're in the hunt for a playoff spot, if we're a couple of games out, why are we trading one of the leaders of the clubhouse? That just is recipe for the locker room to just crumble apart and just fall to the ground. 2023, the same exact thing. What was their only move last season? What was it, Luis? What's the dude's name? See, it doesn't even matter because I can't even think of the name. But they were 1 game out of the wild card, 2 games, something like that, and Luis Urias. There we go.
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that? You know damn well who I am. Who the fuck is that?
I don't know why it took me that long, but like, point proven there, right? It wasn't enough for them to move the needle. They were looking to trade Justin Turner last trade deadline. They were looking to give up on the season at the trade deadline last year when they were 2 games out of a wild card spot. Why are you doing that? What message are you sending to the players, coaches, and the fans? Especially the fans. This year, kind of the same thing, but this time, you are holding a wild card spot. You got Jansen, you got Lucas Sims, you got Luis Garcia. You got just little moves, right? That were maybe insurance to what you have now, but it wasn't enough to move the needle. Why? The players showed to the front office and to Breslow that this team was worth investing. Why haven't they done that yet? Even last year, they were worth investing. Why didn't they invest in them? Mike said it in the podcast. Again, he would have rather for them to sell. But the message, again, would have been they would have been given up too early. And that's not a good message to send to players, coaches, and the fans. It's not. And I know, I talk a lot of trash. I put that in quotation marks because, again, I'm just upset with the way this organization is being ran. So that's why it comes off as harsh. But this team's not bad enough to sell and to, like, rebuild. If anything rebuilding they should do is they should rebuild the farm system for the pitchers. You know what I mean? They should go out and draft some pitchers in the draft. Reboast the pitching staff in the farm system. That's what they should do in terms of rebuilding the farm system. But that's it. Other than that, they should be going out and buying these top-tier talents. Because, again, you're the Red Sox. You're a top market in this league. You have an historic ballpark in Fenway Park. Everybody wants to come play for you. If you have the right system and the right mindset, they will come and play for you, as opposed to these other teams. You guys can hear my frustration.
And it's not just the guys who you would expect to blow up. It's not just the guys who
I gotta keep it short and simple because I'll go on for days on
guys
this.
like Slayton, Martin, and Kenley who just simply could not get the job done. Red Sox Stats tweeted out this graphic that was shown on Nesson, and this pretty much perfectly sums up
not great.
how bad the Red Sox bullpen has been this half. In this graphic, this shows that in the second half, the Red Sox have a 6.50 ERA as a bullpen unit. That is unbelievably absurd. They are 10-11 in wins and losses. Opponents
Chris
are
Martin hasn't been that great this
298
season,
off of
honestly,
them,
either.
and they have 15 blown saves in that time. I mean,
He's
it was
been
just a flat
good,
out
even
implosion
okay,
by
he's
the
been
back
decent,
end of this pitching staff.
but
It's
he hasn't
happened
been
a
good
couple of
enough, I
years in
don't
a
think.
row now
Not as
where
good
this
as last year,
bullpen
at least.
just simply cannot get the job done. It's happened a couple of years in a row now where the offense just goes into a black hole by the end of the season. And to make matters worse, the defense continues to be not even one of the worst defense in all of Major League Baseball. This season they are...
Oh, by full throttle, I mean that in everyday life. Like, Tom Warner, shut the hell up, will ya? We need to be better internally with our defense. Like, dude, playing the same violin every single year. We have to get better internally. Well, how about you invest a little bit in these guys? How about you give them some help that will improve their defense and everything else? Let's start there. And then let's talk about improving internally and everything else.
Officially
I'll
up
laugh
to
at that
102
until the day I
errors
die.
on the season.
Full
That
throttle.
is very clearly good for the worst amount of errors in the entire sport. The next closest is the Miami Marlins with 94, and you have 27 more errors than the average team in Major League Baseball. Every single facet of this team has utterly collapsed. Every single facet of this team gives you no reason for optimism, right? Again, I'm one of the most optimistic Red Sox fans by nature.
You are!
I am annoyingly optimistic for those of you who aren't, and even I have to sit here and say, man, it's just not happening. The Red Sox are not a good baseball team right now, and they
Tip the
haven't
cap
been
to
for the
you
last month
keeping
and a
it
half
real.
of the season. The big question now becomes, Who's to blame for this, and how do you fix it going forward? But
Very
before
simple.
we get into that,
Front
do me a
office.
favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already.
Absolutely.
If
Go
you're
subscribe to
new
Red
here,
Seat
we
Radio,
talk Red
guys.
Sox content
Again,
almost every single day. Also,
channel
make sure you
link,
guys have hit the
original
like button
video
on this
link
video
in the
as
description
well.
down below
Just helps these
also.
videos out a ton, and it's the best way you can let me know you're enjoying the content. Thank you all very much for taking a second and doing so. Let's get back to the video. So like I said before we hit a break there, it's been the third season in a row where the Red Sox have pretty much collapsed in the month of August. It technically should be 4 years if you're including 2024 here, because 2021, they also collapsed a little bit as well. It just wasn't enough of a collapse to not make the postseason.
Right.
And a lot of people immediately turn towards Alex Cora and they say, hey, he's the common denominator here. He's the problem with this Red Sox team. And there may be some validity to that, right?
Yeah.
At some point you have to start looking at the fact that Alex Cora, for this is the 4th year in a row now, hasn't been able to push this team to a winning record in the last couple of months. But
I don't want
the
to
reasons for these collapses have been basically totally different every single time. Looking back at 2023, the big reason why the Red Sox collapsed towards the end of the year was simply the fact that they were relying on too many aging veterans to get them through 162 games. Coming into 2023, you had a rotation of Corey Kluber, who was absolutely miserable, James Paxton, who was solid for a little bit, stunk, and then got injured, Chris Sale, who was exactly like James Paxton, Justin Turner, who played the last month injured on this team, Trevor Story, who was injured and then tried to come back and then wasn't very good because he came back too early, right? You're talking about relying on too many older players trying to push them towards a World Series. This season, it's a collapse for a totally different reason. Actually, the exact opposite. At the end of the day, the reason why the Red Sox collapsed this season, in my opinion, may have a little bit to do with Alex Cora, but I think it mostly has to do with the fact that this Red Sox roster construction was not built to sustain 162 games.
It hasn't been... There we go. Sorry, guys. Ad came in. Had to edit it out and threw me off topic. Absolutely 100% agree with his take on Alex Cora. Alex Cora should have no blame in this whatsoever. Maybe a little bit for them collapsing. Again, a little bit. But for, I would say, 75-80% of the season, he's done a very good job with working with what he has on this roster to get them into the position that they were to compete for a playoff spot. He is like the Eric Spoelstra of the Major League Baseball. Not to cross sports or anything like that, but that's who he kind of is. He gets the most out of his players because of how knowledgeable of the sport he is and how he knows his players and everything else. He gets the best of them almost every single time. There's just a point in time where they've reached their peak, and it's only a matter of time for them to fall down. Again, for 80% of the season, they did much better than I thought they would. They did much better than I thought they would. And that has a lot to do with Alex Cora. But again, like Corbin just said, this team is not sustainable to maintain that consistency for an entire season. It was never constructed from that. And that's on ownership. The only way you can sustain that consistency and have a good probability to get yourself into a playoff spot is if you have the best talent on the team. Whether it's from free agency, trade, or anything like that. You can do all the low-risk, high-reward moves as you want, but at the end of the day, that's only going to last you for so long. Here we go. It lasted up till basically September. Again, congrats to the Red Sox. They lasted longer than they did last season, so that's a step in the right direction a little bit. But again, it's up to ownership to flip that switch and to turn them around. This is on ownership. Plain and simple.
of the year, literally day one, we said, hey, this pitching staff has the potential to be good. The problem is, by the time you get to the middle of July, you are going to be in completely unknown territory with a majority of these starters. And we saw exactly what that looked like. You expected the young core of this team to be perfect in order to compete, and that's just not realistic. It's not fair.
That's the only way
to
for you
the
to make
players on these
to be
teams. The guys
into
like,
a playoff
Don
spot
Rafaela, Willie
or
Robrey,
compete for a
Tanner
playoff
Houck,
spot.
Carter Crawford. These are guys who should be going through bumps and bruises at the major league level. It's part of developing and growing in a big
Damn,
league
I
uniform.
could
And
pause
unfortunately,
again.
The Red Sox left no margin for error.
If Red Seat Radio's watching this, I'm sorry, man, but you're bringing up so many good points where I have to pause it so many times. That's just not good pressure to put on your young guys. Like, again, this owner's staff and Breslow and all of them are talking about this young core that's coming up. Roman Anthony, Kyle Teal, Marcelo Maris, so on and so forth. They're talking about them and how they're going to turn the franchise around and everything else. Well, that's great. That's great. But to put them into the fire and to have those expectations right off the gate is a lot of pressure on those young guys. Here's a good example of this. Mac Jones. Perfect example. Drafted from the Patriots. Came in. Basically, the guy after Tom Brady, I know it was Cam Newton, but he was basically like the next franchise quarterback after Tom Brady. He came in, he played great in his first season, so the expectation turned into, okay, he made the playoffs in his first season, hell yeah. Now it's time to go up a notch, and the pressure got too much to him. It's not a good recipe for success. Maybe they can do it, maybe, but that kind of rarely happens.
To allow those guys to do that and still sustain their winning ways. The second you saw those guys go through bumps and bruises, all of a sudden, this team is in a really bad place. It happened in the bullpen, it's happened in the rotation, and now it's happening on the offense as well. And to me, that's the biggest reason why this Red Sox team, for the third or fourth year in a row, totally collapsed in the last 2 months of the season. And that's not even to take into consideration the fact that they have had absolutely miserable luck in terms of injuries for a couple of years now.
Very
This
true
season,
there also.
Basically, all the veterans that you wanted to say, hey, we're going to go very youth heavy, but we're going to rely on some veterans here to try and mix
The
it up.
Giolito signing,
Those guys all got injured.
I was never a
Lucas
fan of that,
Giolito,
honestly.
Trevor Story got injured six
I
games
just
into the
wasn't.
season. Garrett Whitlock has been injured multiple times.
That one
Even
didn't
guys
make any
who were
sense to
on
me.
this team and were veterans that appeared
There were
in
much
most of the
better
games
options
this
out there
season,
than
at some
Giolito.
point spent some time on the IL. Nick Pivetta, Chris Martin, Tyler O'Neill, Rafael Devers, who should be on the IL, but is an absolute warrior, and he isn't. All have been injured at some point this season. Even Kenley has spent time on the IL. It's just been absolutely miserably bad injury luck on top of a roster constructed to really not sustain 162 games, and that doesn't even take into consideration
By
what the
sustain,
Red
he
Sox
means
did
like
at this year's
consistency.
deadline, because the thought process behind it was pretty solid. We're going to go and we're going to get a couple of bullpen arms, a starting pitcher, and a right-handed bat. Well, in total, those guys are either injured or really bad, or in most cases, they're both injured and really bad on this season.
So,
The deadline didn't
in the
work out
end,
for you.
it
You
doesn't
didn't get
matter.
the supplement you needed. And at the end of the day, while yes, Cora has had a collapse in the last 3 seasons, 2021, you get there to the postseason, it all boils down to the fact that FSG, the ownership of this team, simply did not want to invest in their product.
Standing note. Standing note. A standing ovation for Red Seat Radio / Corbin. Thank you. Boom. Nailed it, nailed it, nailed it. You, John Henry. I can't stand this guy. Look at his face, man. Even Tom Warner, too. He's looking at the Red Sox fans leaving Fenway Park there. I'm assuming this was in 2021. And he's thinking, damn. I am one lucky motherfucker right now because I did not expect our team to do this, to be in the postseason. I'm just playing with house money at this point. You had us, man. 2021, you had us. I'm not going to lie. You had us fooled. You had us fooled. Then you didn't sign Kyle Schwarber to extension. You didn't sign Bogarts to the extension that he deserved. I could go on and on, man. You guys know how I feel about John Henry. You guys know I can't stand him. You guys know I hate him, so on and so forth. And even Tom Warner, too. But what I meant by full throttle is, I meant it like that in everyday life. We need to get better defensively. We need to get better internally, so on and so forth. Like, dude, that's not what you meant by the end of the season last year. As I say in my live streams, when we react to Yudi, you're a capper. Stop the cap. Sell the team,
the way
guys.
they should invest. We talked about it this offseason. We talked about it going into the year. We're going to be talking about it going into the offseason as well. It wasn't Chaim Bloom. It's not Craig Breslow. I don't think it's Alex Cora. I don't think it's Pete Faxi.
Crazy. I
right?
hated
It's
Chaim
not
Bloom
Andrew
also.
Bailey. At the end of the day, they are only allowed to utilize the tools that they are given. If they are not given the proper tools, the job gets really hard. And they can try and make things work, and things possibly do work for a while, but eventually those tools are going to break down because they're doing jobs that they shouldn't need
Ownership
to do.
wants
that boils down to
Breslow and them
ownership
to run this
simply
team like
not
it's a bunch of
allowing the
robots.
front office of this team and the manager of this staff
Little
to be able
resources,
to get the tools that they need in order to
but
truly
use
get over
the numbers
162, and it
to
is
get the
absolutely
highest reward that you
infuriating
can.
the same problem that we've been
With
talking
the
about
limited
for 3
amount of
years in a
resources
row
that you
now
have.
continues to rear its ugly head. And
That's
there's
why I
really
have my
no end in
introduction
sight.
song for the Red Sox as Wally the Robot. Because this team is ran by a bunch of robots. I'm not even going to count Breslow in this situation. I'm talking Henry, Warner. They're all computers in their heads. If we spend less, but we have somebody who wants to get the highest reward out of the lowest amount that we have to spend, the more money we're gonna get. Like, stupid. That's not how you construct a winning team. You know this. You've built so many winning teams, John Henry. How many of them, John Henry, would you say, how many of those teams did you not spend? My guess is 0. My guess is with all 4 of those championship teams, you probably had prospects in there, but you definitely paid a penny also to get those championships.
Now, what I will say about this season, even though it's over and the Red Sox most likely are not going to make the playoffs, there are take out of this year. And I think the positives and the difference between what you saw in 22 and 23 is that you are going into the offseason with a clear idea as to how this team can win going forward. What you saw this season was the emergence of a core, a true core of a next really good Red Sox team. Tanner Houck, Rafael Devers, Tristan Casas, and Jarren Duran are going to be very good for the next few years. Those are going to be guys who are going to anchor this team going forward.
When he came back,
now all you have to do is build
hasn't
around
been
them, ensure
that
that they
great,
have the
man.
proper tools.
Can he
in
turn it
order to
around?
get
That's
the
the
job
question.
done.
Can Casas
And
turn
that,
it
to
around?
me, is very exciting. And there's also a whole lot of excitement to be had with the prospects in this system because despite the Red Sox being so mediocre this season, what's not mediocre has been the Red Sox farm system, which has been one of the most productive in the entire sport in terms of the development and growth of their top prospects. You're talking about additions to this team next year that could be all-star caliber talent. Now, will they be? I don't know, but the potential is there.
Like
for
I said
that to
earlier, that's a lot to
absolutely
ask for them
You've
in
got
their
your
first
big four
season and
right on the
everything else.
cusp
That's a lot
of
to
being
ask
major
for.
league players, and that's an exciting
Maybe
thing
down
as
the
well.
line.
So this season a little bit different in terms of the actual.
But as of
it's
right now,
over
man, that's
statement.
a
The
lot
last
to
2
ask
years,
for.
it's over, and I have no idea how this team is going to figure themselves out. I have no idea how they're going to be competitive in the near future. This year, it's over. They stink, but it's also, hey, they're not going to stink for very long. There is now legitimate excitement for 2025. So at this point, what I'm watching 2024 for is to see
I will
the
agree with
adjustments
that.
made by these young players. I want to see Tristan Casas figure himself out after going into a slump. I want to see Cedar Rafaela do the same thing. I want to see Brian Bayo make adjustments in the last month of the season. I want to see these guys start to really put themselves together. So going into 2025, they can
strong
utilize the experience of failure that they had this season season to make themselves better make
next
themselves
season,
more
yes.
competitive. But at this point, I'm not watching these games for competitive baseball, and that's a really, really crappy thing to say for the third season in a
I feel bad
row.
for you
But
guys.
that's just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below, what are you watching the rest of the season for? Is there anything to watch for the rest of the season? Are you like, man, it's football time, I am all set on the Boston Red Sox?
October 22nd, banner night / ring night for the Celtics. That's the type of mood I'm on right now. I can't wait for it. We might have to get Bree on the podcast again because we need to relive last season over again, man. Again, an amazing run from the Celtics last season. I just can't wait. You guys know how we roll over here. And as for baseball, for me, it's playoff time for San Diego. Can't wait for that also. Can't wait to see Mookie in the playoffs also. But especially for Xander to be back in the playoffs, I'm excited for that. That's gonna be fun to watch. Leave a thumbs up if you guys enjoy these videos here. Subscribe now if you guys know what to do. Go check out our website. The link is in the description down below. Again, shout out to Red Seat Radio. Thank you for all the love and support that you've shown to me when I'm on your streams and everything else. Keep up the grind, man. All love and support over here. Go subscribe to Red Seat Radio. I will leave his channel link and the original video in the description down below. Thank you guys for watching this one. It's been your boy Jesse, and we'll see you guys in the next video.